We are up and running. Let's see here. So can anybody check on Facebook and see if we're actually showing up?
Yes, I just got a notification. It's up.
Okay, cool. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and start our September meeting. And I'm gonna got a couple items we have for the agenda, but the main item for the agenda tonight, which if it takes a while, then we can defer some of the other ones. Like John Marker has some that he'd like to add if we've got time, but for the primary one for this month is nominations for the 2023-2024 officers. So we'll get to that. But first thing we need to do is I think I see both Eric and Brian on. So Brian, why don't you go first? And hopefully you got a August meeting minutes for us.
Yes, I do. Let's see
Okay.
here. Let me go ahead and share.
Okay.
Okay, let's see here. So yeah, last month we got started about 7:30, and we started out with the review of the previous month's meetings. And with that, Eric moved to approve, Grant B second, and we had no opposed with the meetings from from the previous month. On to the Treasury report. Eric didn't have any report for us. He did comment that the accounts are looking fine. The website did have a little bit of a cost increase of $1. Eric donated, whoops, I just noticed I had a little typo. Eric donated $10 to cover that cost there.
No, I covered an experiment that I was running, so I spun
Okay.
up an extra server instance.
Okay.
But the extra dollar that they're charging, that will have to come out of our normal operating.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I probably missed the detail with that there, but that was you put a $10 donation to something you were testing.
Yeah, because I didn't want to like
Okay.
charge the club for me testing and playing around, so I covered it.
Can I ask what it was then? Cost of testing.
Well, John Mark had an interesting idea about a BBS, so I spun up an
Okay.
instance to see what that would take.
Okay.
And it looks like it would be easy enough to do. I realized the amount of work involved would be much greater than I could
Okay.
put forward to.
And maybe when we had the meeting, we didn't have that detail there, and I just wrote that comment down. So okay,
Yeah,
very good.
yeah.
Thank you. And then we talked about Eric said about doing some quarterly reports. Rich stated the comment that a quarterly report would be adequate for what we need for tax purposes.
I would put that in there because I think I think for tax purposes was it that Rich said, I mean, Rich said that quarterly would be okay, but I think the the um, the only thing that was necessary, isn't it correct, Eric, was just something once a year to ensure that we were under $50,000 of income per year.
Yeah, well, the IRS requires a yearly report, which might just be one line. I don't remember. Rich took care of that this year, and then in our bylaws too, it says that we only need one yearly report from the treasurer. Now, that doesn't mean that I only want to do it once a year. I'd rather do it quarterly, but that's what the bylaws say.
Okay.
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 Did I miss a comment there? I guess since it was comments, I'm not sure if we had any motion on that. I didn't write anything down for the treasurer's report.
I don't
didn't
think
have
we
any
need a motion because in
Yeah.
the bylaws, I only have to do a report
Right.
once a year.
I was looking to see if we had any motion that I forgot to type into my notes here. Sorry. Okay.
We didn't, we didn't have a treasurer's report last month.
Yep. So nothing to approve there. So,
Yes.
and then we went on to the newsletter, and Grant B had some concerns about having enough time to do the newsletter, and we had some discussion around that. And Jim had asked if if he could put a post out on Facebook to see if anybody was interested in working on the newsletter. We had some little bit of discussion about that. Grant Leedy asked if we really need a newsletter, and so we discussed that a little bit as far as what requirement we have.
Yeah,
And Jim,
I would I would add to that. I mean, we asked if we
okay,
did, but I think whenever we ask a question, we need to put the response in the minutes. So
okay,
I mean, I think there was a conversation around, what value do we get out of the newsletter, but ultimately, I think the prevailing item was that currently the bylaws specify that there's to be 4 newsletters per year. So if we don't want to do a newsletter, or we want to change the frequency of the newsletter, we need to amend the bylaws. So right now we need it because our bylaws dictate that we have it. I mean, the question about, I think Grant's better question about what value do we get out of it, and do we want to exert the energy on putting a newsletter together, is extremely valid, and we had some of that discussion and whatnot. But right now, the need is that it's a stipulation of the bylaws.
I mean, I'd like us to have 4 newsletters. I just don't have the time to make that happen.
Well, and I think that's that's Grant B's
That's
concern as
we
well.
can have the discussion
Yep.
during the,
Yep.
Did we? So I know we're just going through the minutes, but did Grant? Did you put a note on
I
Facebook?
didn't put a post up on the newsletter. I put a post up that very night on our upcoming picnic, which we had talked about. But I can put together a post, but maybe with the discussion in the newsletter, we can decide how to go about it, because I have some thoughts about it. So
Didn't we decide on making the newsletter posts on the website and maybe reminding people about the posts every so often?
I think we did. Grant, you were gonna. I think the first step in that is, Grant, you were gonna take the material you already had created, and you were gonna get it posted in draft form on the
yeah,
website.
yeah.
So has that been done? I did not get it.
No,
I did not get
no,
a response on that. So
no.
okay.
sorry.
So I think, Grant, if you could at least do that, because you're the only one that can do it, I think, because we
Yep.
don't have the material.
Okay.
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 And then we had we didn't have any old business, so then we moved on to new business, and the main new business that we talked about was the upcoming picnic, and we discussed several dates, and the date that seemed to work best was September 23rd for the picnic. And Jim had put forth a motion for that day, and Eric moved to approve it. Grant L seconded it, and we didn't have any opposed. And then we discussed about timing and what to do. We talked about there's an arcade place there, maybe starting there, and then having supper at this pizza place that's adjacent to it, and that would open up at 4 p.m. So everybody settled on going to the Woodfire Dundee Pizza Place, I think is what it was called, and we discussed about the club paying for part of it, up to $500. And with that, then Jim put forth a motion to approve that. Eric moved to approve it, and Grant L seconded it, and we didn't have any opposed to that.
So something must be wrong, because I'm not allowed to put forth motions. I think I asked for someone to, so I think Eric was the one that moved to do this, and on all three
Eric
of them,
moved. Yeah, Eric. And maybe it's just my
I-
wording here. So I think you put forth to have a motion, and I think Eric moved to have a motion, and I probably just my wording here. I need to rephrase my wording then. So
yeah, because I think the key is I always ask if there's I mean, every time we have a decision, it's my requirement to say I'm willing to entertain a motion, and then somebody says I move to, and then somebody else says I second, and then there's discussion, and then there's a vote. So yeah, I think that should be changed, because I'm not allowed to put motions out there as the leader or the meeting facilitator.
I'll change my notes then. So yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll get
And
that
then,
updated.
I think opposed, opposed is spelled with an O, or
Yes,
am
it
I
is.
mistaken?
It is.
Okay.
Opposed?
OPP. Yep.
No,
OPPOSED.
there we go. Okay, I'll get
Got
that
it.
updated. So then we also talked about starting out at the Retro Cave. It's an arcade place there, and Jim asked for a motion for that, and Eric moved the motion forward to approve, and Grant L second it, and no opposed. Get that together. Thank you. I missed on the notes there what I had there, but someone had talked about I think having doing some sort of archiving with our newsletters,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's something we have on our website, or Eric said that there might be an option for a plugin out on archive.org to maybe just move them out there and utilize their searching ability. So we just had a little discussion about that. I don't know if we had any takeaways. I think some people were just going to maybe think about it.
I don't remember the details. I mean, we do have all of our newsletters already up on the website.
Yeah, I think,
What,
but they're
yeah,
not
what I
searchable.
remember was that, Eric, you said that there were plugins that we could use that would help make them be searchable, part of the search function.
Oh, yeah, part of the search. Okay, I'll make a note to myself to do that.
And then Grant Leedy would like to. He wanted to put a motion to give $100 to VCF Midwest to sponsor them and to have a little bit of advertising for Cocoa Fest, and then also to do a $50 donation to Tandy Assembly towards their event. And Jim asked for a motion on that, and Grant L moved to approve that, and Eric seconded.
Right,
Sponsor.
and we should say, I don't know if this is old business, but we did get that paid.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get my spelling mistakes there. I was typing a little fast there, so
Okay.
I'll come back and correct all that. And we didn't have any opposed to that. I'll get all my corrections here. And then then it was just a general announcement that nominations for the different positions within the club would be in September for October voting. And then with that, we ended the meeting.
So is that
At 7.
Is that 7:46 Central? Because we didn't start the meeting till 7:30, and I find it hard to believe we got everything done in 16 minutes.
Maybe it was 8.
Okay. Well, yeah, and you can go look and
There we
see
go.
how long it is, but I
Yeah.
have a feeling we
I'll
had
get these
more than 15 minutes.
I'll get
Hey,
these
Brian.
updates done there. So
Hey, Brian,
yes.
I've had the same problem with the spell checker in Telewriter 64, so don't feel bad.
So,
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
So with those corrections, is there a motion to approve the August secretary minutes? I'm sorry, who was that?
I did, Terry.
Oh, Terry. Terry moved. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Grant B seconded. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Secretary minutes for August are approved. Eric, do you have a treasurer's report?
No. Been too busy getting ready for VCF. I'll see if I can get something done this month.
Okay. So we'll go to committee reports. Grant Leedy's on, and I know it's a little early, but Grant, maybe you have some items for us concerning Cocoa Fest 2024. Whoops, did I lose him?
Yeah, I don't see him.
Oh, okay. Well, that was interesting.
Oh, yeah, it's like he just dropped off.
He just dropped off right as I.
Maybe he hit the wrong button when he went to unmute.
Oh, I bet he did. He hit in call instead of getting off mute. That's cute. Okay, well, Grant.
So
There he is.
okay, good.
Oh, I just saying he texted me and said the Chiefs were playing, so that's probably where he went.
Yeah, sorry. I'm watching the football game and listening to you guys at the same time, so I apologize. I hit the hang up button instead of the unmute button. So no, I'm just nothing really to report. I'm just now starting getting things going here. As of right now, I'm expecting to have registration open on November the 1st this year. So hopefully Randy will get that up and running again. I'm planning to keep the prices the same. Free admission table prices are the same because we broke even or actually made a few $100s last year, so I don't see a need to increase the prices and
What,
the
is
price
it
of the.
something we should vote on because that's tied to our membership dues?
What's tied to membership dues?
The price of attendance and stuff like that.
We've never voted on that before.
Okay.
Yeah, it's basically everything's going to stay the same as it was last year.
Any other items?
Nope, that's it.
Well, Grant and I, we did update the website
Oh yeah,
today,
forgot about that.
for 2024.
Oh, good. I was wondering because it keeps saying it's over for now. So you're saying it says something different now?
That's right. It's
Yep.
it's
Oh,
220 some days.
239 days. Okay, well, that's cool.
And
Okay.
Yeah, we got it up. Eric and I both got that updated, and we also have some advertisements too at VCF too, so that will point to that website as well. So
Okay. So when we're getting
and Grant B and Grant
ahead.
B also has the flyers too. So I'll print off some. And are you going to print off some too, Jim?
I'm leaving like as soon as this meeting's over. So I told John Mark if the flyers got here before I left, I'd print them out, but I don't think I'm gonna have time to print them out. So we'll have to
Okay, I'll
rely
just
on
print them out.
you.
Those. Yep, it'll just be black and white. That's fine.
Okay. I mean,
well,
we can FedEx some.
can we pay for them in color, or was that too expensive?
It's,
That's I think it's expensive. We found that out last year.
It's about
Okay.
it's about
Yeah, I
$1
seem
a
to recall
page.
it.
So
Yeah, forget that.
yeah, sorry. I can print them for free here, but I have to have them in time to print them, and I'm literally leaving as soon as we get down here.
Yeah,
Right.
I put the newsletter together. Now I just heard you say that registration you were saying was November. Grant, is
Right.
that correct?
That's the target date
All
right
right.
now.
So the
That'll depend on
wording that I
depend on
had on the
Randy.
flyer said October. Should I change it to November?
Yeah, November 1st.
Oh, okay. I'll change that and I'll just update that file for you to print.
Okay, yeah, and just send it to me and I'll get them printed off.
Great. And I just created the design in black and white so that it wouldn't look strange being printed in black and white.
Okay, that works.
So I obviously, the committee and the membership has to do what the committee and the membership wants to do, but I'm hopeful that since we put the show on May the 4th, I'm hoping that there can be some sort of a Star Wars-ish type tie-in, because it would be a waste of a good date to not do that.
And I guess you haven't seen the flyer yet, so yeah, there's a Star Wars theme already built in.
Good deal. Well, that makes me feel very good. Thank you very much. Okay. Grant B, newsletter. Any updates on the items?
Yeah, so I'll post up for additional help on information, but I think part of what I'm hearing in the discussion, as well as just how I've been feeling, is every time I try and gather something together, it's like there's the activity online happens faster than anyone could report. And frankly, our posts, if we post them on the website, it probably is more timely for information, as well as it's more digestible for me to kind of process through them. So I think I know the newsletter, we have a basic structure that includes like the meeting dates and times, as well as like upcoming events. I really think just simplifying this, and for this year, Eric, if I look back at some of the financial stuff and I can review like in the Google Drive, I will publish, it's not like back publishing, but I will publish the issues for each of those quarterly reports that we would need, or quarterly update, so that we have 4 newsletters. and then maybe have one highlight, article or thing to say each issue, while posting the bulk of the stuff just to the website as it comes.
Okay. I think that's fine. I do think we need to, so there is something we do need to have. So in the bylaws, it specifies that at the conclusion of tonight's meeting, that we deliver to all of our membership the list of candidates for the October voting. So we normally try to align that with a newsletter. If we have something that we can publish in the next little bit, then we'll go ahead and publish that. Otherwise, I need us to put together just a notice to send out to everybody on who the candidate slate is, because that's one of the requirements is to make sure that everybody understands who the candidates are, and then I'll allow them an opportunity to vote between now and the October meeting, because they vote on the Tandy List system.
So I'll be happy to put that together so we can get that mailed out as well as posted on the website. Is there, I'm concerned if we had any chance for other people to kind of either nominate or put forward an interest for positions.
Well, I think
Well,
that
we'll
was.
be doing that now. Right?
I'm sorry, what?
That's
Oh, I'm sorry. We're doing that today, aren't we?
Well, we don't nominate for officers, but we don't nominate for directors. So the newsletter editor is a director, so those don't get nominated every year. But I was waiting, actually, Grant, on your Facebook posting to be posted online, and then I was going to piggyback on it with the with an item for a co-editor or an alternate
okay.
editor. So I'm kind of waiting on you to do that part, and then I was going to piggyback on it. So as soon as you post your thing, I'll post the response.
Okay, I'll make sure I post it tonight
Okay.
for that request. I know you're going to be traveling, but
yeah, well, I'll be in Chicago all day tomorrow. So excuse me, if you get it there, then I can do it tomorrow morning.
okay.
Okay. Any questions for either one of the grants around Cocoa Fest or the newsletter? Okay.
Grant, do you have something that you want? Otherwise, I know you're making plans for the show going forward, but like this flyer came up kind of quickly, and I think we're in the early stages of the planning. But if there's some need for assembling graphics or the poster or the tables, the way it's going to be set up, actually, I'm guessing last year the tables seemed to work well. But if we want to make plans for those, I'm happy to work on whatever changes we need.
Tables layouts will still be the same as last year.
Great. Okay.
Because I don't think there's any other way to arrange them to get us more tables in, because we we played around with quite a bit last year. So I think this is the best setup we can get. So.
Okay.
A quick question. Do we think that once the registration is open, that's probably a safe time to book travel if you're traveling from out of state?
Yeah.
You can book travel today if you want to, because the hotel reservations are open and the discounts are available today.
Oh, that's excellent news. Thank you.
Probably. Did you post that yet, Grant, online that people can
Yeah.
make their?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, it's already there. It's the same code as we used last year, and everything's pretty much the same. So I just had to pretty much just update the dates and so forth from last year to this year. But yeah, they increased the room price $1. So instead of 119, it's 120. So I don't think that's going to break anybody's bank. So
okay.
Thank you. That's great news.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, our first item of new business is nominations for the 2023-2024 officers. So secretary or president, vice president, Secretary and treasurer are the nomination, the officers to be nominated um, at this meeting. So I think, Tony, I always forget, I only do this once a year, and you've done it longer than I have, but do you start from the top and go down, or the bottom and go up, or how do we normally do those? He's trying to turn off mute.
Choice.
Huh?
I'd say it's your choice,
Okay.
but I think we normally started at the top.
Okay. Well, that's fine. So so wanting to open up the floor for nominations for 2023-2024 Office of President for Glenside Color Computer Club.
Well, I'll nominate Jim Brain.
Okay, there's a nomination. Do I have a second?
I would second.
Okay, Terry Steege, second. Any comments, concerns? Okay.
Do you want it?
That's a good point. I'm fine to continue on in the role if folks are okay with that. So so I have a motion and a second, and so is there a all in favor of that nomination?
Aye.
No.
Okay. Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay. We have one candidate for president for 2023-2024, and are there any other candidates to entertain for president? Going once. I'm
Is
sorry.
there anybody here that wants to be president?
Yeah, that's true.
Like, and
Greg or Tony could take another run at it, or Chris. Brian, you've been wanting to move up. Terry was VP at one point. Do you want to try again at the president spot? Oh, I think he just, oh, there he is. Oh, I guess that answers that question. Boise? Boise's just listening in. David? David, you haven't had a position yet. You need something to occupy your time, don't you? Oh, no response from David. Oh, there he is.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. But I'm really appreciative of the great job that everybody's already doing. So
Oh, that's very diplomatic. You're just so good at that. Okay. I don't know, Eric. It doesn't look like anybody's jumping at the bit. John Mark, you wanting to move up into the big chair?
No, not at this time. I've been recovering from some health problems, and I'm doing good just to tread water where I am right now.
Okay.
well, if that's the case, then I guess I'll move to close presidential nominations.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Tony seconds. All in favor?
Right?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Vice President nominations. Any nominations on the floor? Anyone
Well, I
wanting?
nominate if John Mark's willing, I would nominate him again.
Oh yeah, sure.
I have a
I'll
motion.
second
I have a motion with Terry Steege and a second, Eric Canales, for John Mark for Vice President for next year. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Any other nominations for Vice President?
Terry, maybe you want that back?
Yeah, Terry.
Nope, John, great job.
Okay, well, either a nomination for another individual or a nomination to close the nominations for Vice President, or a motion to close the nominations.
I move to close.
Grant moves to close. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Grant B seconds. All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. Vice President nominations are closed. Secretary. So Secretary for 2023, 2024, opening the floor for nominations.
I nominate Brian.
Brian Weasler, motion to nominate Brian Weasler from Grant Leedy. Do I have a second?
I would,
second.
Okay, John Mark seconds. Brian, are you okay with being nominated?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Brian is okay. All those in favor?
I
Aye.
All right. Any opposed? Okay. Nomination for Brian Weasler passes. Any other nominations for secretary? Or a motion to close nominations?
Motion to close.
Grant B moves to
I'll second.
close. And what was that,
I'll
Terry?
second.
yep.
It was Terry. Terry seconds. All those in favor to close nominations for secretary?
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Secretary nominations are closed. Treasurer nominations. Opening the floor for treasurer nominations.
I nominate Eric Canales.
Okay. John Mark has motion to nominate Eric Canales for 2023-2024 treasurer. Do I have a second?
I'll
I
second.
second it.
I think that was David, wasn't it? David Davidson?
No, it was Grant L.
Grant. Okay. Grant seconds. All those in favor of nominate, well, actually first, Eric, I assume you're still interested in being treasurer?
sure.
Okay. All those in favor of Eric Canales being nominated for treasurer for next year?
I
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. Nomination passes. Any other nominations or a move to close nominations?
I move to close.
Okay.
I
I
would
will
say,
second.
Okay. I think I got Terry on the second that time. So Brian Weasler moves to close nominations for treasurer, and Terry seconds. All those in favor of closing nominations for treasurer?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? All right. Well, that makes the job somewhat easier since it appears as though there's no voting necessary. Um, I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I guess people could write it, and you can't write in a vote because you have to be nominated. So
Right, and you have to present that at this meeting, so,
yeah, that's right. So
yeah.
well, okay. Well, that went a little
Do we need-
faster than I'm
do we
sorry.
need, I just wondered, do we need a motion to accept the ballot as it stands?
I think to keep things on schedule, I'll wait until October to do that um, um, officially, but I will entertain that if you come on the October meeting. Can you put that on your
Yeah.
agenda for coming and taking care of that?
We'll make sure your sentences are.
That's right.
Well, I was thinking impeachment.
You could try
we
that
could
too.
publish, but we could
What's-
publish our, what, the results of our nominations and
Yes,
just let anybody, voice any concerns before we accept them.
fair enough. I think that's a good point.
Jim, do you want me to make that post along with the option with the listings? I could just say, here are our nominations from the results of this meeting.
Yeah, that's fine. Since I'm going to be traveling, if you're on the site and stuff tonight, that's great.
Yep.
Just put that on there.
I'll put it in as a draft that then you can approve to just make it live.
Okay.
When you've reviewed it.
Okay, sounds great. Okay, so we're got a couple more items. John Mark had a couple items that he brought up over the last month or so. So let me look at them real quick. So give me 1 second here. Okay, so I'm gonna just, I think, John Mark, I'm just gonna go down through some of these right here. I don't know that some of them are agenda item. I mean, not they're agenda items. I don't know that any of them require a decision, but I'll tee them up, John, and then John Mark, and then you can chat more about them. But you had an item about encouraging younger folks to join the club and how we might work on accomplishing that. So maybe you can give us a little color on that.
Well, we could have like a video game challenge for Donkey Kong Remix, and the top 4 people could be invited to the Coco Fest to play on a real Coco 3 with no cheat codes or any special pokes or anything, and they would have to, win on a real non-modified Coco 3, of the same caliber that all people would play on. And we could pick the winner, and the winner could I don't know, get a trip to Disney World. I don't know, just something silly like that.
Okay.
I don't know, what could we do?
So what does everybody else think about that? I mean, I think the idea of encouraging more folks to join the club or actually just be more active in the club is a good one. So I'd love to hear other people's thoughts on that.
Yeah, it sounds, but as a club, we don't have 4 Coco 3s or the equipment to put on a contest.
No, we only need one at the Coco Fest, a Coco 3 with two mega memory with a 1.8 gigahertz poke and I don't know, analog joysticks, or no, you'd want digital joysticks with an Atari joystick. And
because Donkey Kong isn't one of those games that ends, is it?
oh, really? It plays forever?
I think so, as far as I know.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you can get
Well,
a high
I like the
score.
idea of a contest that kind of encourages them to attend as well as kind of get interested. I like the idea of having I mean, I've seen some of these young kids come to the show, and it's really heartening to see them get so excited about things. But if there were some challenges put forward, such as gaming, but even like a programming challenge or a physical, like some kind of a hardware hack, frankly, Charlie with his father has kind of put together something. I feel like you might want to make it be something that encourages, I don't know whether you want to say it's just the children, their initiative, or if it's with a mentor or parent. But I would be willing to donate, or even if like some sort of encouragement, like a prize for attending and being a part of that, would be maybe one auction item. They just get the top, whatever it is, kind of like a golden ticket. Or just if there's a donation that could be designated for something like that.
But we do have the gift cards we could use for such a prize.
Right. Does anyone have people in their life that they know already is showing some interest as well, like even online or just in your daily life? I know a lot of times it's people's children that kind of either show an interest or not, but I think part of it might just be our trying to have a voice that's more than a bunch of us, which I think we're kind of all in a similar category of age and history.
It's true. It's true. I mean, I will say, I don't know anybody off the top of my head, but if there was something to give, so like these flyers that we're talking about, at the show that's going to happen this weekend, VCF Midwest, there are quite a few younger individuals who attend the show. And, if there was something to give them relative to the color computer, um, uh, then that there's, I mean, it wouldn't be everybody, but there probably is a fraction of them that would start down this path, because I don't know that they necessarily have an affinity for the cocoa per se, but they do have an affinity for an older or a retro system, and so it's just whichever person gets in front of them and says, "Oh, well, here's a retro system that you may be interested in," um, then chances are they're going to go and check it out. Like I know last year, person that came by, I think I had a Coco 3 set up playing one of the games. He wanted to know about the unit, and then a little while later, he came back and said he'd scored one at one of the vendors in the hallway, had a Coco 3 for sale, and he didn't know that he thought the only TRS-80 computers were the Model 1 type computers. He didn't realize that they made a home computer, and so he went and bought one. And of course, I'm assuming he went home and started playing with it, and maybe one of our members, I don't know, but but I mean, it's just anecdotal, but but that's a potential option to interest people to join the club. But maybe one of the things that would help is some sort of a little piece of paper, a half-page piece of paper or something we could hand out at the show, um, to people who are potentially interested in a Coco, um, and they have a website and a QR code or whatever, they can go and see what we're doing.
Brian, if it would help, and I'm sorry. Yeah, I'll go that way. Jim, if we have a Coco 3 with a monitor and a SDC set up to play on, or whatever they want to do, if that is the prize, would that be sufficient? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, I was talking about the original comment about getting people kind of started. I think Grant is talking. Well, it sounded to me like John Mark started this off with this idea of having a contest and whatnot, and then I don't know that we've got enough time to put something together like that for the show, because literally the show is day after tomorrow, and a I'm not sure I have a monitor and a Coco 3 and a Coco STC available to give away, and the club doesn't have one either. So,
I guess what I was trying to say was not so much for the VCF, but for Coco Fest to get
got
people
it.
involved.
Yeah,
I would donate. I would donate all of those parts.
Oh, okay. I think I think that's I think that's fine, as far as a donation, but how do we um, uh, are you thinking, and maybe this is more for Grant B and John Mark, are you guys thinking that in order to win the unit, you need to come and play the game and get the high score on it? Is that how you guys are thinking this?
Well, I've heard about people cheating on emulators and these anti-cheat systems for various types
Mhm,
of gaming systems, and
mhm.
somebody famously got a really high score, and somebody proved with artificial intelligence that he actually cheated ba based on something about the sound or something wasn't quite right, and they determined that they actually cheated, and now they no longer hold the high score for some game.
Are you talking about the King of Kong?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's such a great story. That's been a huge rivalry that's gone on for years and probably continues. And by the way, I think one of those players lives here in Seattle area, the Steve, one of that I think it was that Donkey Kong player that, and I think, yeah, he was disqualified because he was using a main cabinet and recorded his high scores on a main cabinet or something like that. It wasn't an official Donkey Kong motherboard. And somebody figured that out, and his score got, pretty much kicked off the records or whatever,
So,
something to that effect.
yeah,
The
so
way they caught him in one way that I liked was the screen drew in a different order than the official main cabinet,
fair
the
enough.
official Donkey Kong cabinet.
So, John Mark, I guess what you're saying is, in order to keep that from happening, folks would need to be at the show and and complete the game on the machine at the show. Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, yeah, the whole idea is to get them to the Cocoa Fest.
And that's fine. I
to,
just wanted to I just wanted to clarify what we were doing. So it sounds like Terry, it sounds like there's an opportunity for donation for that.
Yeah,
I think
Terry, that's really generous of you
it is.
to offer that.
I think
I think
go ahead.
do.
Go
I
ahead,
just
Terry.
was saying, I think it's great to do. It sounds good. I would maybe recommend that if the people sign up, the kids or whoever sign up, of course they free admission and all that. Make kind of a big to do out of it. Special badges for them and those kind of things. And then the playoff could be on maybe this Coco.
Well, if this is going to happen, why don't we just set up a committee to have a table, and that committee can decide how to do it. So I would say, that committee could be like John, Mark, and Terry, and whoever else wants to help.
That's
Yeah,
I mean, that's fine. I don't, I mean, I think that's perfectly okay. The only thing I would say is we need to make sure that we're not, so we need to make sure that the rules of engagement are reasonable, right? So I assume it's, the goal here is to find folks who have never used a Coco before, coming in and potentially winning the Coco machine. But how do you make sure that? Is there an age cutoff? Is there I'm not asking for folks to answer that question tonight. That's way more detail than we need to get into in this meeting. I would just say whoever this group is that's going to work on it needs to think about those things, because we need to be careful that we don't get ourselves in, if it's going to be club sponsor, the last thing we need is get ourselves in a real bind over somebody complaining that they weren't allowed an opportunity to play for it because I don't know, they had a Coco back in the day, but they haven't had one for the last 20 years, so they were ineligible, and that's unfair, or whatever. We just need to make sure that we work through those kinds of issues.
Yeah. I'd be happy if you want, John, Mark, and Terry, if you want to work, I'd be happy to work on something like that. I think in general, that sounds like it's an event, but I think, John, Mark, one of the other things that we should consider is like being like an advocate, or I can't think of the word right now. Somebody who's just advocating and like promoting Coco at any of these events, as well as just online, which is kind of what Septandy does. It gives a highlight. It gives like a platform for us to highlight the strengths and kind of interest that the computer has, as opposed to any other systems. So if we can discuss that, I'd be happy to have that be something that maybe before the next meeting we could put something together, formulate something.
like a Coco ambassador kind of a thing.
Yeah, like an ambassador or yeah, that's kind of what it would be.
Okay. So on the main topic, so Eric, are you suggesting, do you feel like we need to make a motion for this committee, or are you just asking for some folks to get together?
I think we generally move to form committees, so I would make a motion that Terry Stiggy run the committee as the person donating the equipment, and that John, Mark, and Grant B should be on the committee with Terry, and they can present next month whatever their plan is going to be.
Okay. So there's a motion on the table. Do I have a second? I don't know, John.
I'll second it.
Okay, that's Greg seconds it. I guess Terry and Terry, for the first part, are you okay with that? You okay with leading up a committee to figure some of this out? Okay. Any other questions or comments or concerns? Okay.
Well, I would just like to comment that we should keep in mind if there's any costs involved, that you can present that to the club next month and we can consider covering those costs.
Um, all those in favor of the committee creation?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So I got a big long list here, and I'm gonna make an executive decision to hang most of these onto another meeting, just so we can be sensitive to everybody's time. But there was one other item. I don't know that I want to have a formal motion tonight, but there's a question on the table, and that is so let's see, in 2020, Cocoa Fest did not happen. So we did not have a 2020 Cocoa Fest. However, there was a virtual event that kind of was, I would say, held at the same time. It was not an official fest, but it did carry kind of the same um, layout or whatnot. There was a number of different projects that were viewed, and it was all done via Zoom or something, if I remember correctly. Of course, now we've went through we're back to doing physical events, and so question that John Mark had, and I'll let John Mark provide a little bit more color, is the idea of entertaining a virtual Cocoa Fest in addition to the physical event. So John Mark, maybe you can provide a little bit of additional color there.
Yeah, well, we've tried to have like some people be in person and some people be online, and the people who are online want to be in the auction, but it's a disaster because there's a time delay and it ties everything up. And it's like if we could have an in-person, of course people could join online if they want, but maybe they can't be in the auction. But then we could also have an online only event 2 weeks later, a week later. They're doing this year for the Apple Vintage Computer Festival, whatever that thing is called, and so they're trying it for the first time this year. And I thought it sounded like a good idea that if everybody's online, that would be better than trying to have half the people online and half the people in person. I don't know. It just sounded like a good idea, and I wondered if we should think about doing that ourselves, particularly once we see how this thing works out. When are they having that Apple Festival? Apple II Forever Festival?
Oh, I thought you were talking about Kansas Fest, but
yeah, Kansas Fest. Yeah,
okay.
Kansas Fest.
And it's normally held in July, so I don't know when the virtual one occurred.
I like that idea. The only concern I would really have is shipping at that point.
Oh, for the auction items.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. Go ahead, Grant.
Oh, I was going to say, I think as of right now, we're having a hard enough time just to come up with auction items just for Cocoa Fest. I think we would have a more difficult time trying to come up with auction items for two separate fests. That'd be pretty tough, in my opinion.
I don't think that was I think there's two things I think there's two conversations. One is the fact that some people want to be virtual at the main Cocoa Fest, but they want to be part of the main Cocoa Fest's auction. And to me, I think I agree with Terry. I think logistics are overly challenging for that, right? When one of the things nice is when we're done with Cocoa Fest, I mean, everybody better come in and get all their junk and get out of there, right? Because I mean, having to take a whole bunch of stuff to another location and then work on shipping it out, that puts a lot of that's a big task potentially, especially for some of that stuff that people drag in that's heavy. Like last year, I think Tony and I were moving deck drives around, and those things are probably 30 pounds a piece. And it'd be extremely expensive to to ship that, and then what if the person who bids on it decides, I don't want to pay for shipping, that's too expensive, then what do we do with it? You know, it's logistically, I think that's really complicated. I know it's a bummer, but if people can't come to the auction physically, I think that's kind of one of the things that makes the physical event is you come, you touch all the items that are in the auction, you go into the room, you look at them, you bid on them. If you bid the most money, you get them, and when you're done, you go pay for them and you take them home. So Grant, I agree with you, and I was thinking that initially, but I even think just for the main fest, I think it, you know, if people want to have, like last year, I know that oh, geez, can't think of his name. Mark Marlette. I know Mark Marlette wanted something, and he and his wife had to attend another function, and so they asked if I could bid, I could proxy bid for them for some items, and so I proxy bid for them. I mean, you could do that for somebody who's going to be um, not at the show, but then the person who proxy bid is still responsible to get the stuff, and if they want to ship it, then that's their problem. But I think that's the most I would be interested in on that item. The second item about having a separate Cocoa Fest that's virtual or something, maybe we call it something different. um, I'll be honest, I like the idea, even though I know it's going to be really, I mean, it requires a, you know, more effort on the part of the club. It is nice. I'll be honest, when the year was rolled around that we couldn't do the actual Cocoa Fest, but we could do virtual things, um, it offered an opportunity, at least in my perspective, it offered an opportunity to show off projects that I had here at the house, but were too bulky, or it was going to take too much effort to pack them up and take them to the physical show. So that was really nice. So that might give people an opportunity to show off a project that either is not far enough along for it to be shown at a physical fest, or it's just too bulky and would not make a good good candidate to physically take to the show.
Jim, I'd also mention that show was, done through Cocoa Talk at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still one of the highest viewed videos for the Cocoa Talk anyway.
Mm.
So I
Mm.
think it was very, shoot, that thing was what, 6 hours long? It was a long episode. And
Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, but I just had a thought. We could have the Cocoa Nation take this on with our blessing.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
and don't get me wrong, I'm not looking necessarily for a decision tonight. I think, John Mark, you just wanted to kind of preface it as, would this be something that we feel like is even of any value to anyone in the meeting, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I think maybe the first thing is for those folks who are kind of tuned into the Cocoa Nation, maybe to float the idea and see if they're interested in it. I think it takes a lot out of us just to build the fest itself, the physical event, and I don't want to dump this on Grant Leedy because it's a lot more work, and I don't know that he's signing up for that. And we could find somebody else, but I think since other groups are already all set up to do online distribution, it may make more sense to have them consider it, and then we just partner with them on that particular item.
well, if it's the group's pleasure, I will speak to our officers about that and report something next month, unless you need it sooner.
Oh, I think we got time. Grant Leedy, what do you think, since you're the Cocoa Fest coordinator?
Yeah, I think in fact, I was just texting Terry about that. I think that'd be a good thing for Cocoa Nation to pick up on. So I think that's probably the right way to go about it, because
Okay.
it would be too much for me to take on both projects
Okay.
simultaneously. So
I didn't
Okay.
get that because I blocked Grant's phone number.
Mm.
oh, I appreciate it.
No, I'll
Okay.
do that. I'll get with the guys this next week.
Okay.
One thing that I'd say that's come up that was reminding me of this is you've done an end of year kind of get together that was virtual.
Yep.
Was it a New Year's Eve kind of a thing? And it
Yep.
feels like that would be less scripted, maybe less formal as an event. But I know that I think it was Coco Talk that did that tie-in event where there was a whole bunch of there was a show going on, and they did a lot of virtual things with the Dragon group there. And man, I don't know the planning that went into it, but it was really successful. I thought that whole long event, I mean, it took hours. That was even longer, I think.
Yeah.
That was, I think it was a whole day kind of a thing. But those kind of events, I think if there's some way, you know, as a club here, I don't know that we have those resources to make the planning part of that together, but and I worry about how many people can attend and have it be, other than visually watching it, to actually interacting. It's a little bit harder to have more than like 15 or 20 people kind of interacting unless you're broken off into smaller groups. So I wouldn't be opposed to the club like making sure we do another end of year thing, but I really am glad, Terry, that you can float the idea with Coco Nation to kind of advocate for some virtual events that are more than that weekly gathering. I mean, that there's a hell of a lot of preparation that goes into that. I can see it, but
Well, we're fooling you pretty well then.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
No, I think that's, you know, it's definitely beneficial to the whole community to have these events where, and it's recorded. If you miss it, you can go see it and you really don't lose out. So yeah, I don't see an issue with that, but Grant and I are both on the officers team there, so we will
Yeah, and
champion.
as trigger, I think the math kind of works out. If the Coco Nation takes on the profits and the risk involved and the work, then and we can get people to know more about Coco Fest in person, the in-person event. I think everybody would win.
Yeah, and it's also a good idea too, because I do get people who are not able to attend the actual fest and can only want to do virtual presentations. This will be a good opportunity for them to participate because we try not to do virtual presentations anymore, you know, since everybody wants to do it in person. So this will be a good opportunity to get them to participate as well.
Cool. Well, I think yeah, Terry and Grant, if you guys could um, you know, do that, and then maybe if we could find a time that makes sense or a date that makes sense. I know we've got you know, we've got a number of shows that appear in the spring. You know, there's VCF East, and then there's Coco Fest, and then there's a new show that's a more encompassing show in the spring, the Indy Classic, which is in Indianapolis. And then in the middle of the year, there's like I think there's VCF Southeast and VCF Southwest, um, and then towards the July August timeframe, you know, there's Kansas Fest, and I believe VCF Pacific Northwest and VCF West. And then you get into September, you've got VCF Midwest, and then you got Tandy Assembly in October. I don't think you have anything in November, and then 1st of December is a show in Toronto, Canada, where I know there's some Coco stuff, even though it's predominantly a Commodore show. But there may be an opportunity for a space, Grant B, maybe your point, like in the end of the year or the beginning of the year before folks have gotten kind of started in. I mean, it's a terrible time to go travel anyway, and so a virtual fest makes a lot of sense then, or a virtual, you know, event. So it might be an opportunity for us to have a little bit more Coco at a time when nobody's really keen to go anywhere. something to
The
consider.
only thing I would say, I like the idea. The only thing I would say is that I don't want to say that we don't want to make this too big of an event, but I'd hate to see anybody make their presentation then and then not come to Cocoa Fest 4 months later.
Well,
Because I think we want to keep the Cocoa Fest our big event, and not that this would become bigger than Cocoa Fest, but
mhm.
is there any concerns about being too close to there that people would say, well, I'm just going to share it there and then have nothing for Cocoa Fest?
That's a good point. Although, 4 months is, I mean, in the lifetime of a project, 4 months is a big gap. So it could be that you've got something that you're able to show at this event in, let's say we do it. Let's say it happens in the end of the year, or the beginning of the year, and then you've got, you're much further down the road, so you've got something else essentially to demonstrate when you get to the fest. I assume it's the same way now, where you have people that come to the fest and they have the beginning of a project, and then they go to Tandy Assembly in the fall and they've got, it's further along, or vice versa. They show off their project initially at Tandy Assembly, and then it's much, it's much more mature by the time they show it at Cocoa Fest. So, I mean, but
And
you are
then
right.
oh, sorry. I was going to say, plus also, I always have people I have to turn down because we don't have a spot for them to give presentations. And especially with the feedback that I got this last year about Sunday presentations, we might not have presentations on Sunday because everybody who gave a presentation on Sunday was complaining there was nobody there to participate in the presentation. So we might making some adjustments that way too. So
That's a fair statement, Grant.
yeah,
Then
because I mean, a lot of people are already booking up and checking out of the hotel to travel on Sunday, and the 3 people that we had presentations for, they all 3 were kind of disappointed with the low number of turnout for their presentations. So
Fair. It's fair.
yeah. So if such a project does go through, we could ask the Cocoa Nation to focus on presentations that work well on video, which of course they would naturally want to do, and then we should then focus on more in person or physical presentations.
Okay.
If such a if if we wanted to. I'm not saying this is a hard rule.
Okay. Well, Terry and Grant, I think, we've kind of gone as far as we can go on, I think it sounds like we would, if another group is interested in pursuing this, we would love to partner with another group, or at least we'd like an opportunity to consider partnering with another group to do this. So why don't you both go off and talk to TCN Nation, and which is redundant, isn't it? But anyway, talk to those folks and see if there's interest there, and if it is, report and report back next month as to what interest is there.
okay.
Okay. I've got some other items from John Mark, but John Mark, I'm going to defer those to the next month because we are already at 8:40 Central, 9:40 Eastern. And
Okay.
I think we've been at this enough. So, does anyone have any other items that we should bring up before we close?
I have one little item,
Yeah.
and this is more to Eric. He brought this up about having the club purchase insurance for Cocoa Fest.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's a good idea,
So
and I just think that's something we really need to think about because, God forbid, if something happens and we get sued, that'll be into the club, and that will be into Cocoa Fest. So we should probably protect ourselves. So
let's move and
something to
second
think
that.
about.
Well, I mean, I'd say I can't imagine anybody thinking that's a bad idea, especially given that it's not very expensive. So happy to entertain a motion.
Well, do we have a price? I don't think we came up with an estimate.
Okay. Well, you want to go ahead and get a price and then come back to us, Grant?
Actually, Eric, you got the information, don't you?
Well, I just kind of relayed what Jason Timmons had talked to me about. I'm trying to
Okay.
find a note I gave you because it was fresher in my mind when I wrote it to you. But yeah, there was a service that offered it. Do you remember the details, Grant?
No, I just saw the email today. I haven't had a chance to look at it. So
Oh, that's right. It was an email. Let me pull that up just so we can talk about it real quick. Hold on.
Okay. Tony had something while you guys are bringing that up. Tony, what was your item?
Thank you, Linda. It's a rather pregnant question.
Okay.
If we do the elections online in a meeting,
Okay.
it probably wouldn't be too problematic. But if elections are going to be made through Tandy List,
Mm-hmm.
as they have in the past,
Mm-hmm.
voter validation was based upon current dues.
Mm-hmm.
Who, since Bob's absence, has been updating that, if anybody?
I will check with Randy, but because I believe Randy gets those initially and then pass them on to Bob. So,
But who would have taken the records from Cocoa Fest attendees and exhibitors
mhm.
and transferred that data into the database?
Yeah, I'll check with
That
Randy.
is a question that needs to be investigated soon.
Yep.
And
Well, it
discussed
doesn't.
further
Before
October.
Well, actually, I mean, it's academic at this point because we don't actually have any voting that is going to occur, right?
Well, there you go.
I mean,
But
but
who is a current member?
Yep. And so I'll check with Randy because I believe that information was delivered to Randy to put into the database after Cocoa Fest. All the exhibitors and all the attendees that paid dues. But I will verify. So I will verify that.
Sounds like a winner.
Okay. So I don't want to let us continue on forever here. Do you, Grant, you and Eric have some information on this real quick, or do you want to defer it to next meeting?
Yeah. Well, the service is called theeventhelper.com. Yelp gave it pretty good reviews. VCF's been using it. He says it's a couple of $100 for an event for VCF Midwest. So I guess I can get a quote and come back, or we could just like make a motion for up to $300 in insurance or something like that.
I would
whatever
probably
you guys can do.
I would probably recommend you just make a motion. I can't imagine somebody in the group saying, "Oh no, we shouldn't get insurance. We should let somebody potentially sue us." I can't imagine that's something that that's a hill people want to die on. So
Yeah.
Okay. Then I
I would agree.
will move to get $300 worth of insurance from theeventhelper.com for Cocoa Fest 2024. And if it costs more to get reasonable insurance, I'll come back with an amended motion next month.
okay.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, so I have a motion from Eric and a second from Grant. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Motion carries. Any other
I'll get that
items?
ordered.
Nope, I move to we adjourn.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Or make a motion, I'm sorry.
Okay. Grant Leedy moved and Eric Canales second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed?
Have a safe trip, Jim. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay. Motion carries. That was the conclusion of the September meeting. Appreciate everybody joining.
See you, everybody.
See you later.
Bye-bye.